How you doing this morning, Mr. Lang?
Good morning. Great to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. So let's kind of just start things off. Why are you running?
I'm running because I was born and raised in Texas. I care about Texas and the people who live here. And Texas needs a better comptroller because the comptroller is about your money. And everywhere I go in Texas, whether I'm in East Texas or Central Texas, there's one thing people say to me. They're not satisfied that their money is being used correctly at the state. And so we need a better comptroller. And I've got 40 years experience to make that happen. And that's one of the key reasons I care about this state and we need a better comptroller.
All right. Well, Mr. Lang, why do you believe that Kelly Hancock should not be reelected?
Well, let me just say one thing. First of all, Kelly Hancock was not elected. Okay, he was appointed by Governor Greg Abbott only on July 1st of last year. The previous comptroller had resigned to take a new job. So we have a comptroller who's never been elected by the people of Texas. He was appointed by the governor. One of the critical things about the comptroller's role, which a lot of people don't understand, is that it's not a legislative role. The comptroller does not make law. It does not vote on laws. It's about your money. It also is an independent agency. The comptroller does not report to the governor, does not report to the state legislature. It does have a boss in the state audit board, but you're supposed to be independent because you're looking after the people's money. Kelly Hancock is appointed by Greg Abbott. How independent is he in looking after your money? And if you value getting a bang for your buck, if you want real independence, you've got to have someone in that role who has the real experience to do it, but also understand it's about the people of Texas's money, not necessarily what Greg Abbott wants.
All right, let's delve in here to your background. You grew up in the Houston area. What makes Houston so special in your heart?
Well, actually, it's more than that. I was born and raised in Houston, but I also grew up in rural Texas as well. And I like to tell people that I have one shoe in the big city and one boot in rural Texas. And I've got the scratches from barbed wire on my arms to prove to it as a boy. My family's had a small ranch in Waller County for more than 60 years and another small operation in Lee County as well. So I've been very lucky that I grew up in Houston and I've seen huge change, but also, too, I've been able to experience and live and understand rural Texas as well. I am the son of immigrants. My father came to this country. He couldn't speak the language. He had no money. He came from a very poor family. In fact, a farming family. He was the first person in the 460-year history of our family to graduate from high school. And he was a young child at the end of World War II on the wrong side in Germany. And rather than being shot and killed by an American soldier one day, the American soldier saw a starving 13-year-old boy and gave him a Hershey's chocolate bar. And that was the day my father said, I'm going to become an American. So I grew up in Houston as a son of immigrants, which means I'm incredibly patriotic to Texas and to the state. Uh, I always say that my heart, my soul is in the state of Texas. My body and my bones are American. So it's the ultimate patriot. But also, too, I come from a family that has these kind of ethos. Number one, everyone you meet, you respect the same way. Number two, work hard, but always be kind. And number three, always remember we're here because other people helped us. When my father and mother were poor and working in Texas trying to make something, it was the kindness of the people in Texas who saw a young couple trying to do a good thing and help them. So once we've achieved success, we have to give back. I didn't grow up in a wealthy family at all. We had to work for everything. That's why I understand how hard Texans work for their money and how really they want value for their money. So I bring 40 years of real world experience. I've worked in Texas, I worked in the US, and I've worked overseas in multi-billion-dollar companies running thousands of employees. And why is that important? Well, the comptroller oversees $338 billion of your money. You have to manage a staff of 3,000 people, more than 30 offices. So you're looking after 32 million Texans, but also 3.5 million businesses. And if you've never done that before, guess what? Time is money. The people of Texas work hard. You don't have time to waste someone learning how to do this job. You need someone who can be effective right away. So my youth, my upbringing, and my education and my work life all lead to being a better comptroller than one we have right now.
Well, let's circle back here to talk about the 4 decades that you spent working as a business and finance professional. Talk about your career a little bit. In your view, how have these skills and experiences that you've gained in your career make you qualified to be a comptroller?
So I graduated from high school in Houston, went to University of Texas in Austin, and I have a degree in finance. I've also completed advanced finance courses at Rice University in Houston. I've completed advanced finance courses at the New York Institute of Finance in New York City, where I worked for a number of years. And I'm also a graduate of the Advanced Management Program from a university called INSEAD, INSEAD. It's Europe's leading business school based in Fontainebleau, France. So I have a financial business background, not just in Texas, not just in America, but around the world. Matter of fact, I've worked in more than 57 countries. And imagine if you have a comptroller who has experience in Texas, in the US, and overseas. Texas right now is the 8th largest economy in the world. If it were a separate country, we would be the 8th largest country in the world by money standards. Going forward, to get Texas future ready, as well as getting it ready now, we know that we have to trade around Texas, we have to do business in America, but also too, we have to expand how we do business overseas. Imagine if you have a comptroller who's already done that. Imagine if you have a comptroller who's worked for 30 years in large multi-billion dollar, tens of thousands of people companies. Texas is 32 million people. We're growing by 10,000 people every single week. Think about that, 10,000 people every week. They need housing, they need food, they need water, they need education, and guess what? They're going to be competing for jobs. So if your part of your job isn't getting things affordable in Texas now, but getting us future ready, you're failing. In the business world, that's what you're doing. You're always focusing on what's happening now, but 5, 10, 15 years down the road. It also brings a discipline in terms of getting things done. Because remember, the comptroller is about your money. It's not about making laws. It's about actually getting things done. It's the kitchen table issues. It's money. It's jobs, it's the economy, it's water, it's electricity, rolling up your sleeves and making things happen in a positive way. And one of the things people say to me is that, Michael, we really like the fact that you have real world experience in today's world where things are changing so quickly. And you'd run the comptroller's office like a private business. And I say yes and no. I will use all the skills that I've gained to run this huge operation that's only growing, right? 338 billion and growing. But the bottom line in business is net profit. Net profit is uncaring, it's cold, and it's real. However, this is the state of Texas. You're supposed to be a servant leader. The bottom line in a comptroller's office should be what's best for the people of Texas. And if I'm the comptroller, I'll use my business skills to make sure your money works well. When I make decisions, two things are going to come to mind. Number one, is this decision making the people of Texas safer and giving them better lives? And number two, does it help make their lives more affordable? If the answer isn't yes to both questions, we have to find a better solution. And coming from the business world, you understand that there's lots of ways to get things solved. And I've worked with governments, I've negotiated with governments for jobs in the past. So this is all not new to me.
All right, well, Mr. Lange, let's go ahead and maneuver on over to talk more about your platform. I see your website lacks a platform or issue section, excuse me, and there are no specific plans listed. When can voters expect a full platform from you?
Well, let's win the Democratic nomination first. Okay, but let's talk about what we need to get done. Let's talk about some tactical stuff first. Most people don't realize that the comptroller is responsible for all the broadband quality in Texas. Right now, Texas doesn't even rank in the top 10 in states. I was in Corsicana just recently, and 70% of the people in the room raised their hand and said they had unstable broadband. And you think about kitchen table issues in a comptroller, food, money, water. Think about it. Broadband quality is now a life essential. Everything we do in our lives is being pushed to go online. If you can't get access on a stable basis, how do you run a small business? How do you run a home? If you're supposed to have a doctor's appointment, how do you do all those things? How do you homeschool? How does all that work? Right now, the technology and the money is available in Texas to take Texas from not even the top 10 to the best in the country. But here's my plan. If I'm elected, because I'm going to be effective day one, I'm going to ensure that every single Texas, whether you live in Lovelady or Lubbock, Del Rio or Flower Mound, you're going to get at least 2 bars of coverage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 99.9% of the time. It's a small thing, but think about the impact of safety on your life. That's a key thing. The other thing is I'm a firm believer in public schools. I'm against school vouchers, but guess what? It's the law. And guess who's responsible for the entire school voucher program? The comptroller. That's $1 billion of your money that's going to be spent this year, plus a potential another $50 million of expenses. How would you like to know how all that $1 billion of your money is going to be spent and how it's spent. So transparency to those type of things is important. Second is water. When I've traveled around East Texas, whether I've been in Van Zandt County or Anderson County or Gun Barrel City, there's one thing that comes to mind to everyone. East Texas is supposed to be the most water-rich part of the state, but it's also the place where people are most concerned about water for good reason. And you know that Texas just recently passed a new constitutional amendment, and over the next 20 years, $20 billion of your money is going to be spent on water infrastructure. Well, guess who's going to oversee the $20 billion of that spend? The comptroller. I'm dedicated to water. And again, we had a terrible drought in 2011, which a lot of people in East Texas remember. And that made me a real water advocate. So I actually go to Austin for free and lobby to help make water more available to Texans. So these are critical things. Broadband and affordability. A lot of things at the state of Texas could be done a lot more effectively and efficiently. Imagine if you had a comptroller could come in and take a few $billion out of the cost of living, and that cost of living goes directly to you. What if you had a comptroller who could lower costs just to do business in the state fees of any kind, because you had efficiency? So making people's lives more affordable, but it's also getting Texas future ready. Right now, if you are a college graduate in Texas, your unemployment rate is double that of a high school graduate. I've got two sons. They're 31 and 29. You know what their greatest concern is? Am I going to have a job 8 years from now? My oldest son is afraid to buy a home, not because he's afraid of losing his job, but it'll be replaced by technology. We're in a situation now where in the 20th century, robots replaced people working in factories, and so there were fewer manufacturing jobs. Now we're in the 21st century, and young people, there are possibly jobs being replaced by artificial intelligence. That means you need fewer people to do these jobs. How do you do that? Well, here's a thought for you. In addition to collecting money for the state, the comptroller also spends money. And jobs, there were like $44 billion spent last year. Imagine if you had a comptroller who said this. Right now, about 44% of the people who work in Texas work for small businesses. What if we purposely spent the people of Texas money to do two things? Create jobs in Texas and small business, but jobs that stay in Texas, which means it's small business. So take the 44% of people who work in small business and move that in the next 10 years to over 65%. What that means is going to be more jobs in Texas that stay in Texas for younger people to feel more secure, which means they can buy a home and get on with their life. Little things like this make a huge difference. And lastly, something called the Robin Hood or recapture. This is where money comes from wealthy school districts and is supposed to go to other school districts. This amount is now exceeding $5 billion. But guess what? Is the money from the Robin Hood actually going to other school districts? Because guess what? When I talk to public school people around the state of Texas, there's a lot of problems. So where's that money going? So transparency and audit, making sure that people understand how their money is being used. You've got to get Texas more affordable now, but at the same time, you have to get Texas future ready. That's creating jobs, making sure there's water, having broadband, and making sure the electricity works best. And who controls the spend for all that? The comptroller.
All right, well, let's kind of maneuver on over here to get you to explain and address some of the policies that you have on your website. Let's start here with make the tax system fair. Can you explain that for us?
Sure. Right now, if you ask people in Texas, who is paying the majority of the taxes and do they feel they're getting a bang for their buck? Most people, number one, do not understand how the tax system works. I'm talking about individuals. There's obviously different for businesses as well, franchise tax. But what if we show people this is currently how the money is being collected? Because in addition to the state of Texas, the comptroller also collects money for 1,800 other organizations around the state. So giving people some financial education, so a base to work from, so they understand how it's being done. This is how the money's being collected. This is how it works. This is how it's being used in a way that people, even with non-financial backgrounds, can understand. And that's critically important. So help people understand how their taxes are being used, but more important, show them how it's being used so they feel like the money they're giving to the state is actually worthwhile. It's very simple, but very basic financial literacy education to help people understand why this money's there and, more important, how it's being used, and it's being used correctly and efficiently.
All right, now let's talk about invest resources, where they matter most. Tell us a little bit more about this.
Well, I just mentioned it. Broadband, basic stuff. I mean, food, water, electricity, broadband. Investing money. There's $3 billion that were given by the Biden administration to Texas to build rural infrastructure. There are plans, there's some spending now, but it's not really happening. And I'm not sure it's done in a very effective way. There's a grant given here, there's some money given there. It's all kind of bitty. But wait a minute. You're telling me that a year ago, if we decided to make Texas the best broadband in the United States to give the coverage we talked about, 99.9%, we couldn't be much further along because the money's there. The technology's there, not the gun, it's not the desire to get it done. And I have that because it will absolutely improve people's lives. Water. Think about this. If you have water, you also have to have electricity. We have places in South Texas and even Central Texas that are struggling just to turn on water. We have people trying to create businesses where there's no water. We have new data centers being built. There's one being built in Taylor, Texas that produces semiconductor chips, the size of a pinhead. There's one in every phone. Do you know how many gallons of water it takes to make one of those? In this facility, it's 140 gallons per, and there's millions of being produced 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Are we sure that the money we're spending is going to make sure that the people of Texas who live in those communities don't have increased water bills, don't have increased electricity bills, that they have access to water, that they have electricity that they can use as well? So making sure the resources available to Texas benefit Texas. Again, my bottom line was this. Does it make the Texas people better and safer? And does it make their life more affordable? And that's what the comptroller is about. Remember, it's about getting things done, rolling up your sleeves and making sure the money works hard. And there's about 37 things the comptroller does, anyway, from giving money to volunteer fire departments to opioid settlements. There's huge amounts of things that they do, but it's making sure that people get value for their money. And everyone I talk to tells me, Michael, I don't feel I'm getting value because they don't understand it. It's not transparent. So financial literacy and creating infrastructure that makes sense and is effective now. And here's the key thing. This is what you learn in business. If you do something and people can't feel it, you're not doing something. If your customers don't know you've done something to help them because they can't feel it, then you're not effective. So the comptroller needs to be effective not only in making sure the money works, but making sure that people feel the positive benefits of what they're getting.
All right, I know you kind of touched on water in East Texas, but let's shift our focus to East Texas. In your view, how will your policies benefit East Texans specifically?
Small business. As I travel, from Beaumont to Marshall and Paris and all points around, the one thing people talk about is I was in Panola County and Carthage as well. We need more jobs in rural Texas. One of the challenges we're facing in East Texas is we're aging out. You may know that means there's more people over 65 than under 21 in so many places. How do you solve that? You create jobs. You create just 100 more jobs in Carthage, it makes a big difference. Good paying jobs. So as a comptroller, you're controlling state spending. If you're trying to grow small businesses, there's a lot of small businesses in East Texas. Guess what? What if you get access to the state bidding portal? What if you realize that, oh, hang on a second, here's an avenue of money that we never thought about. And that allows you to create new businesses, but also grow jobs in existing small businesses. So the comptroller, by directing funds to small business, East Texas will be a winner because there's a lot of great small businesses there.
All right, well, Mr. Lange, is there anything that we have not talked about, anything that we've missed?
This is a job where real world experience matters. If you never managed billions of dollars before, if you never managed thousands of people, if you've never managed more than 30 offices, you can't walk into a job like this and be effective day one. This is the one job that's not legislative, it's real. It's kitchen table, it's life essentials. The person doing this job, how well they do their job affects everyone. If you have a mediocre comptroller, everybody in Texas loses. If you have a comptroller who's effective and gets things done in a positive way, every single person in Texas, regardless of your party, wins. This is the money. This is the life essentials. This is the job. This is a job that's 24 hours, 7 days a week. Think about it this way. The comptroller is the cash flow of Texas. It's one of the key economic drivers of the state, both today, tomorrow, and in the future. If you have someone who understands we have to manage for today, we have to be effective and affordable tomorrow, but more importantly, we have to create jobs for our children and our grandchildren, make sure there's water and electricity, and there's an opportunity. The comptroller has a huge, huge say-so in all those things. And why? Because if you're independent, as the law says you are, and you do your job properly, and all Texans can win. So real experience really, really matters.
All right, well, this was Michael Lange, who's running for the Democratic nomination of comptroller for Comptroller of Public Accounts, excuse me. Mr. Lange, thank you so much for joining us here on East Texas Now this morning to give us a little bit of more information on yourself and why you're running.
Well, thank you. I'm Michael Lange, and our website is texans4lange.com. That's Texans, F-O-R, Lange, L-A-N-G-E.com, texans4lange.com. We need a better comptroller. We need to make sure Texas becomes more affordable. We need to make sure there's water, electricity, broadband, and jobs for you, your children, and your grandchildren. And more importantly, you need to start getting better value for your money. You've worked hard for your money. You deserve better treatment. Why not get the best bang for your buck? Vote Michael Lange for state comptroller and see the difference that quality and real experience makes. You want a better bang for your buck? Vote for Michael Lange. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We will talk to you down the road.